America is about to be made an example of. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise, glory, and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Racha HaKodash, and double honors to the elders and apostles at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessing to the 144,000 and the hope elect. Shalom Barakathum. And you heard the title of a lesson, America is about to be made an example of. All right. And I can follow that up to say that you don't want to be Lot's wife. Okay. The example on the individual level of how not to be. Okay. As we know, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. All right. Actually, I'll go to it. I'm going to come back to this second Esdras. Salakia. This is what you don't want to be, man. Okay. You know, you don't want to be the example the Lord uses for what happens when you go off, man. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10. Okay. I'll start at verse 5. Moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy being confounded, she found out the righteous, okay, and preserved him blameless unto the Most High. And it's speaking about wisdom. That's the overarching concept in the book of the Wisdom of Solomon, okay, is the personification of wisdom, okay, which is really a gift of the Heavenly Father, okay, to his children, man, you know, beginning with Yahushua, the only begotten Son. Okay, it says, moreover, the nations in their wickedness and their wicked conspiracy being confounded, she found out the righteous and preserved them blameless unto the Most High. So wisdom is going to find us out. And that goes into Isaiah 33:6. Wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of our time and the strength of our salvation. That's going to come in the days that are upon us basically now, where America is about to be made an example out of. Okay, it says, and kept him strong against his tender compassion toward his son. Okay, so wisdom causes you to go back and cling to Yahushua, man. Okay, our example. Okay, the righteous example. Okay, so you have the right side example and you have the left side example. All right, it says, verse 6, when the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous man, who fled from the fire which fell down upon 5 cities. Okay? So wisdom allowed Lot, that's what it's referring to escape that situation, man. It was not of his own abilities. Okay? The angels came down. He received them wisdom. He kept the law by not letting them sodomites, you know, come into his home. Okay, he held the line, man. And although they would have overpowered him, what happened? Those angels lifted up that standard for Lot, for him doing the right thing. Now, if Lot wasn't a righteous man, would that have happened? No, the answer is no. He would have went down with Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, and then you see the example of this, and you keep reading verse 7, of whose wickedness even to this day, waste land that smoketh is a testimony. Okay, what's a testimony? That goes into the witnesses, man. Okay, that's the testimony. That's what we are, witnesses, man. Okay, and America is about to be the example of what not to do, because we're testifying against this place. Okay, just like Sodom and Gomorrah is a testimony to wickedness. Okay, it says, and plants bearing fruit that never come to ripeness, and a standing pillar of salt. And a standing pillar of salt is a monument of an unbelieving soul. Okay, what is that referring to? Lot's wife. All right, so that's what I mean by being the example on an individual level. All right, you don't want to be that, man. Okay, because Sodom and Gomorrah was the collective level that the Lord judged. Okay, he judged everybody there, old, young. See, because when things get defiled, the Lord is not concerned with the age of a person or the gender of a person. Okay, the whole thing's got to go. All right, so no matter how many nice people here you like, okay, how many people have been kind to you, and they all got to go if they're not of the elect, man, because everything here is defiled. Okay, and if you get too attached to it, you're going to be like it says here, A standard, a standing pillar of salt, is a monument of an unbelieving soul, man. All right, and that's a reproach, man. Okay, that's a dishonorable discharge right there. Okay, you're gonna come back to the kingdom. All right, with shame. Okay, that's how that's gonna go. So you don't want to be that, man. Let's go to the main point. 2 Peter 2:6. It says, verse 4: For if the Most High spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment. This speaking about the sons of Adam, okay? Because we our bodies were closer to the angels back then, okay? Our bodies have basically decayed now, okay? But the angel just goes into the messengers, the Alahayim, okay? Which we were, when you read the understanding of the scriptures, you know the Lord incarnated the first fruits that created the world into the sons of Adam, okay? Okay, which are known as the sons of God in the book of Genesis, okay? And then there's a lineage behind that, okay? But it says he suffered us to be delivered in the chains of darkness. What are the chains of darkness? This flesh, okay? That's subject to sinning and going off all the time, all right? It says, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, okay? And the Lord saw all of this wickedness, okay? But he chose one favorite, peculiar soul and his family, and he delivered them, man. All right? And it says, verse 6, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, and making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly, okay? And so that's the main point. You know, why did all of that happen? Why was Lot there? Why did Abraham pray to see if any righteous souls was in the city? You know, because it was all written, okay, for that to be an ensample of what not to do, man. Okay, our forefathers, even back in the time of King David, even during the time of the judges, that they could all reference that, man. Okay, of what happens when you don't fear the Lord, when you let your cities decay into wickedness, man. Okay, we had that example, and guess what? That was just a trailer to what's going to happen to America. All right, I'm going to get that in a second. Okay, America is going to have the same fate as Sodom and Gomorrah, but on a much, much larger scale. It's going to be a feature-length film instead of a trailer. Okay, just in comparison, verse 7, it says, and delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. So Lot was vexed. Okay, he did not sit there and look at rainbow parades like these people do, and just had this love is a love spirit, or this love, and long as they ain't hurting nobody spirit. No, man. You got to be withdrawn out of this place, man. Or you're going to be made an example out of. See, when the heat comes and you don't have that leaven purged out of you, when the Lord starts dropping bodies and judging people, guess what? You're going to soften up and you're going to look back like Lot's wife did, man. Okay? So you really can't be on the fence. The Lord is not dealing with lukewarm. You have to really, as the scriptures say, that Amos 5:15, you have to hate the evil. Verse 14, it says, seek good and not evil that ye may live. You have to actively seek to live a righteous life. This whole lackadaisical, I don't think that's right. You know, you seeing what they're doing over there in Gaza. Oh, that ain't right. No, you got to be actively against this, man. The whole kingdom's got to go. Okay, and it says that ye may live. All right, you see that? Seek good and not evil that ye may live. So you can't just be settled on your lees, okay, thinking the Lord will not do good or evil, like that's in Zephaniah 1:12. Okay? It says, and so the Lord Jehovah, the Most High, the God of hosts, shall be with you as ye have spoken. Hate the good and hate the evil, Salakia, slip. Hate the evil and love the good, and establish judgment in the gate, it may be that the Lord Yahweh of hosts will be gracious unto the remnant of Joseph, okay? So none of this standing on the fence, man. You got to be vexed with this place, man, okay? And Ezekiel 9:4, it says, set a mark upon them that sigh and that cry. See, Lot was sighing and crying, man. So when the angels came through to smite, like in Ezekiel 9, all right, Lot was spared. Okay? Why? Let's read 2 Peter 2:7 again. And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, and seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. So you're not to be content here, man. Okay? You're not to get soft and wonder about what if. Okay? What does it say in Hebrews 13:14? For here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. That's the mindset that you got to be in, man. Okay? And in the times that we're coming, what goes into that? 2 Ezra 16:40. O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle. See, when you're ready for a battle, okay, this is what the Passover represents, man. You know, you eat with your shoes on, fully clothed. You eat in haste. Okay, you eat with a solemn spirit and hope that the Lord delivers you, not laying back, okay, with your shoes off, cocking back, you know, just you know, in this lackadaisical spirit, you know. No, man, you gotta be in a battle ready mind state, man. You know, like how a soldier would eat in between battles. Okay. It says, make you ready to thy battle, and then those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth. See, that's what it goes into. That's why we say we have no continuing city here, man. You have to already have a pilgrim mind state, man. You got 3 or 4 houses, and you probably gonna go off, man. You know, you're like, I kind of like it here. I got this, I got that. No, man. Why is that wrong? Because the Lord is about to make an example out of the entirety of America. All of it's about to go, man. Okay? That's what we're warning you about. Okay? And how do we know this is referring to America? Revelation 11, okay? And you can look up the breakdowns on this chapter, okay, about what this goes into. But it again alludes to what? These witnesses up here, right? Let me go to it. Yep, verse 3, Revelation 11:3, and I will give power unto my 2 witnesses. Okay? So that's what we're here for, because America's about to be made an example out of. This guy is on trial, okay? And if you're up there co-signing with him, you know, or just being benign, you know, you're gonna catch the same judgment, man. Okay? You're gonna be an accomplice. Okay? It says, going down to verse 8, it says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city, which is America, okay, and everything that America rules over, man, all the way to the Central South Americas, okay. They killed us everywhere, man, okay, parts of Europe, okay. But the main show is here in Babylon the Great, America, okay. It says, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, okay, where also our Lord was crucified. Okay? So that's what this place is likened unto, man. So when you see, you know, we going back to the 2 Peter 2. Let's see here. Yeah, we did go through that. But the example that's getting ready to be made out of this place, you ain't going to be able to believe it, man. Okay? Let me go to this real quick. Did I read this already? Salakia, I'm a little bit. Okay, yeah. Second Ezra 2:8, it says, "Woe be unto thee, Asher." Okay, Asher is the name of the Assyrians. Okay, and what are the Assyrians reference to? And you read Isaiah 10:5. Okay, it speaks about the Assyrians, man. Okay, they're used to reference to us too, mainly in the context of the Northern Kingdom. Okay, but they're used to as what? The rod of the Most High, man, which is what Esau is today. Okay, it says, "Woe be unto thee, Asher, that thou hidest the unrighteous in thee. Okay, O thou wicked people, remember what I did unto Sodom and Gomorrah." And see, that's what America does. It hides the worst of people, man. Okay, number one in child videos. Okay, and production and consumption. Okay, why is that? Okay, how do you have these many poor people here, man? Why is everybody stealing? Why is poisonous food not only legal but normalized, ubiquitous everywhere? You have to actively find and spend time, money, just to find food that ain't gonna slowly kill you. Okay, because the wicked are hiding here, man. Okay, it says the Lord said, "O thou wicked people, remember what I did unto Sodom and Gomorrah." See, Sodom and Gomorrah was what? That was the first example, man. Okay, and you still didn't learn. So what's gonna have to happen? Okay, an even bigger example is gonna be made out of who? Egypt, Sodom and Egypt. All right, and it's gonna be so big. I'm gonna get that in Jeremiah 16. How much bigger it's gonna be. Okay, this new example. All right, that you do not want to be a part of on the left hand side. Okay, it says, verse 9, "Whose land lieth in clouds of pitch and heaps of ashes." Okay, the Lord did that so everybody will remember, that you may hear and fear. Okay, that's why you didn't handle matters of adultery in private. Oh, I'm gonna let her go. No, bring her out in front of everybody and deal with her, man, in front of everybody. Okay, why? So that they may hear and fear. Okay, that you put this evil from among you, man. That's why we did that in the law, man. Okay, that's why America got exalted to begin with, if you can believe it. Because this is about to be an open example of what happens when you play with the Lord, especially the Lord's heritage, man, who are the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay, but going back, 2 Ezra chapter 2, verse 9, "Whose land lieth in clods of pitch and heaps of ashes, even so also will I do unto them that hear me not, saith the Lord Almighty." The Almighty Lord. Okay, so you gotta meditate on these things, man. The Lord is not dealing with nothing in between. Okay, you gotta have it in you to choose the right side, even when you're confronted with death. That's why I brought out those precepts about, not having any continuing city here, having the mindset of a pilgrim, not being attached to these things, man. Okay, not having faint hands. You got to put your brick in, man. All right, because the example the Lord's getting ready to make is about to be off the chain, man. Okay, last precept. Let me see. I forget what verse it is. Let me see here. Yep. Jeremiah 16:14, it says, "Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that it shall no more be said that the Lord Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt." Okay, because that was the first example. Okay, you had Egypt. Okay, was the second example. Okay, and they really had the water. It's really like the judgments of water and the judgments of fire. Okay, because although Egypt got hit with a bunch of plagues, ultimately the Lord gave him the same judgment as in the flood. Okay, the Lord plagued men in the times of the flood Okay, had them going off, and then he drowned them all, man. The same thing with the Egyptians. The Egyptians, that army got what? They went into the Red Sea, and the Lord drowned them, man. And that was the end. Okay, he hit them with 10 plagues, and that was the finale. He drowned them, man. Just like he drowned the wicked before the flood, man. Okay. And then following that, you had what? Sodom and Gomorrah. But before that, you had Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. And he got rid of them with fire. So guess how America's gonna go out, man? With fire. Okay. And that's already written. Okay. It says that the Lord Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Okay. So that was the first example. Okay. Egypt. That's why it says spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Okay. It says, by verse 15, but the Lord Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north. What's the land of the north, man? Okay. What's the land of the north? It ain't literally just America. Let me see what it says. Global. What does global south mean? Okay. All right. Global south, the nations of the world which are regarded as having a relatively low level of economic and industrial development, and are typically located to the south of more industrialized nations. All right, that's what the global south is, man. So if that's the global south, where Esau doesn't live, I mean, he's everywhere stealing. What's the north? Okay, because you can't just look at the hemisphere. You got Australia in the southern hemisphere. Okay, you got South Africa down there, but they're still part of what? The global north. Okay, because it's really just based on, like it says here, relatively low level of economic and industrial development. Those nations, Australia and South Africa, are industrialized. Okay. Vice versa, you got African countries in the northern hemisphere that aren't. Okay. So what does it mean to be part of the global south? That means you're in the kingdoms that Esau is not ruling or not directly over. Okay. So America, Europe, NATO, the whole thing is going to go, man. Okay? The elect are going to be gathered out of all of these places where we're held in captivity. All right? And the Lord's going to destroy them, man. Okay? Verse 15 again, and I'll end it. But the Lord Yahweh that liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them. Okay? So we're going to be gathered out of everywhere. All right. So it's not just literally the north. Okay. It says, and I will bring them again into the land that I gave unto their fathers. All right. So we're not even going to be talking about the first example anymore, because this example is going to be so great. Okay. That we're not even going to talk about the old one. Like I said, that shall no more be said, the Lord Yahweh that liveth, that brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Okay. Why aren't we going to be talking about that anymore? Because it's going to be a new deliverance, okay? And which side of it are you going to be on, okay? Think about these things. Anyway, I'm going to end it there. Lord willing, this is edifying. Call halal Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bashim Rachak Shalom. Kwam Yasharal.